Have you ever felt that despite years of positive affirmations, vision boards, and manifestation practices, something essential remains just out of reach in your spiritual journey? That nagging feeling that there's one final piece of the puzzle you haven't quite grasped. What if I told you that everything you've learned about the law of attraction and manifestation has been merely the prelude to a much deeper truth? A truth so simple, yet so revolutionary, that it could transform your entire understanding of reality in an instant. The reason manifestation sometimes feels like pushing against an invisible wall isn't because you're doing it wrong. It's because there's a fundamental misunderstanding at the core of how we've been taught to interact with the universe. Has this ever happened to you? You set intentions, visualize diligently, and practice gratitude, yet the results feel inconsistent or temporary. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely reshape how you understand your relationship with everything around you. The revelation I'm sharing today has been hidden in plain sight throughout centuries of spiritual teachings, waiting for the moment when your consciousness is ready to receive it. Here's the revolutionary truth that spiritual teachers rarely articulate clearly. The universe doesn't respond to your call because it is your call. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's the actual mechanism behind all manifestation. For years, we've conceptualized the law of attraction as a tool to command the universe, as if we were separate entities attempting to influence an external reality. But the final stage of awakening isn't about perfecting your manifestation techniques. It's about dissolving the fundamental illusion of separation that has been operating beneath the surface of all your spiritual seeking. What if your entire spiritual journey hasn't been about moving forward at all, but about quietly turning inward? What if everything you've been so desperately seeking has already been present, simply waiting to be remembered? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The true magic of manifestation begins when we understand that we're not separate beings trying to attract things toward us, but individualized expressions of universal consciousness experiencing itself through infinite forms. In that recognition, manifestation ceases to be an effort and becomes the natural flow of life, expressing itself through you. This profound revelation transforms everything we've been taught about spiritual awakening. Throughout human history, our entire approach to consciousness has been founded on a fundamental misunderstanding that we are separate entities trying to reconnect with something outside ourselves. This illusion of separation is so deeply embedded in our mindset that it colors every spiritual practice, every meditation technique, and every manifestation attempt we make. Think about it. When you set an intention, aren't you implicitly assuming that you are here and what you desire is elsewhere? This hidden assumption creates the very distance you're trying to overcome. It's like a fish swimming desperately through the ocean searching for water. The separation never actually existed except in our perception. The journey of transformation that most spiritual traditions describe as a path of attainment, achievement, or becoming is actually a path of remembering, uncovering, and recognizing what has always been present. This subtle shift in perspective creates a quantum leap in how we relate to our spiritual practice. Instead of adding more techniques to your toolkit or perfecting your visualization skills, the final stage involves removing the conceptual barriers that make you believe you were ever separate from what you seek. Behind the scenes of all authentic spiritual traditions lies this same core revelation, often hidden within parables and metaphors. The kingdom of heaven is within you. You are that. There is no separation between observer and observed. These aren't poetic expressions, but direct pointers to the actual nature of reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, toward the profound implications this has for your daily experience. When you truly begin to recognize that your spiritual journey isn't about moving forward, but about turning inward, everything changes. The desperate seeking falls away. The endless comparing of spiritual experiences loses its grip. The anxiety about whether you're doing it right dissolves. Imagine for a moment what life would feel like if you no longer experienced yourself as a separate entity, trying to manifest things from an external universe, but as an individualized expression of the universe itself. How would your relationship with your desires transform if you recognize them not as signals of absence or lack, but as the universe expressing itself through your unique form? This mindset revolution doesn't make your spiritual practices irrelevant. It gives them new depth and meaning. Meditation becomes less about achieving a special state and more about recognizing what's already present. Manifestation shifts from an attempt to control outcomes to an alignment with the natural expression of your being. Prayer transforms from begging an external deity to a communion with your deeper self. The decision to embrace this perspective isn't merely philosophical. It's a radical reorientation with practical impacts on every aspect of your life. The boundaries between spiritual practice and everyday experience begin to blur. Washing dishes becomes as sacred as formal meditation. Conversations with strangers reveal the same truth as ancient texts. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, not because it changes, but because your perception of it transforms. If you're beginning to sense that perhaps your entire spiritual journey has been leading you in a circle, back to where you've always been, but with new eyes to see it, write in the comments, "I am what I've been seeking." Now let's explore how this understanding transforms our relationship with desires and the manifestation process itself. When we truly internalize that we are not separate from the universe, but are individualized expressions of universal consciousness, a profound transformation occurs in our relationship with reality. This isn't just a philosophical perspective, it's a fundamental shift in how we experience ourselves and the world around us. The boundaries that once seemed so solid begin to dissolve, revealing the seamless fabric of existence that has always been there, hidden in plain sight. Consider for a moment what this means for your everyday experience. The tree you admire, the stranger you pass on the street, the challenges you face and the joys you celebrate. All are aspects of the same universal consciousness taking form in endlessly diverse expressions. You're not merely observing the universe, you are the universe observing itself through your unique vantage point. This revelation completely reframes the journey of manifestation. Rather than attempting to attract things toward you from an external source, you're participating in a dynamic dance of creation where the inner and outer realms are reflections of each other. The ancient Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, speaks to this exact truth. The microcosm of your being mirrors the macrocosm of the universe. If this journey of awakening resonates with your soul, subscribe to our channel and join a community of seekers walking the path of conscious manifestation. Every video is designed to help you remember the infinite power that already exists within you. Behind the scenes of this cosmic interplay, our desires serve a far more profound purpose than we've been taught to believe. The conventional mindset portrays desires as indicators of something missing, gaps that need to be filled, lacks that need to be addressed. But this perspective keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of wanting, getting, and wanting again, never reaching true fulfillment. The hidden truth reveals a different story. Your desires are not signals of absence, but signposts of remembrance. They are the voice of the infinite calling you back to the awareness of your own completeness. When you desire deep connection, It's because you already know at some level what oneness feels like. When you yearn for abundance, it's because abundance is your natural state. Your desires are echoes of your own inherent fullness, asking to be recognized. Think of it like a wave in the ocean momentarily, forgetting its true nature and feeling isolated, separate. The wave's desire to reconnect with the ocean isn't pointing to something it lacks. It's a call to remember what it already is and has always been, inseparable from the vast ocean itself. The fulfillment of this desire doesn't come from acquiring something new, but from dissolving the illusion that created the sense of separation in the first place. This mindset revolutionizes how we approach manifestation. Instead of trying to get what you want, you're aligning with what already is. Instead of focusing on absence, you're tuning into presence. The impact of this shift cannot be overstated. It moves you from a position of constant striving to one of allowing and recognition. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how this understanding changes our practical approach to manifestation. When we recognize ourselves as expressions of universal consciousness and our desires as calls to remembrance, the entire process becomes less about effort and more about alignment. The universe isn't responding to your call because it is your call, the same consciousness speaking to itself through the unique instrument of your being. This is why the most powerful manifestation doesn't happen through force of will or repetitive affirmations alone, but through moments of genuine recognition when you feel your connection to everything. Those rare, precious moments when the boundaries between you and life momentarily dissolve, perhaps while witnessing a sunset in deep meditation or during spontaneous joy, are glimpses of your true nature as the universal expressing itself individually. If you've ever experienced that profound sense of connection where suddenly you felt like you were not separate from everything around you, write in the comments, "I've tasted oneness." The most remarkable aspect of this revelation is how it transforms not just our spiritual practice, but our entire perception of reality. This perception shift reveals the most profound mystery of the law of attraction. What we've misunderstood as a mechanism for commanding reality is actually a mirror, a perfect reflection of consciousness becoming aware of itself through you. When you look at manifestation through this lens, you realize that the universe isn't granting your wishes as if you were separate from it. Rather, it's experiencing itself through the unique configuration of energy that you are. Behind the scenes of reality, an elegant dance unfolds. Your intentions, thoughts, and emotions aren't merely signals sent outward hoping for a response. They're ripples in the unified field of consciousness, moving through you and as you. This isn't abstract philosophy, but the actual architecture of reality that quantum physics has begun to verify. The observer and the observed are fundamentally inseparable. Let me share Mabel's revelation that perfectly illustrates this truth. One ordinary morning, Mabel was looking at her reflection as she had countless times before, but something extraordinary happened. Her familiar features began to blur, revealing a luminous field of light that seemed to pulse with living intelligence. In that moment, she understood that her physical form was merely the outermost expression of an inner radiance that had always been there. This experience shows us a fundamental truth that remains hidden from ordinary perception. The solid world we perceive isn't separate from us, but is our inner state made visible. Every circumstance, relationship, and experience precisely reflects the vibration we emit, not as cause and effect, but as different aspects of the same unified reality. It's as if we're constantly walking surrounded by mirrors, where each situation returns to us exactly the energy we radiate. The mindset revolution happens when we recognize that transformation doesn't occur by changing what's out there, but by aligning with the luminous field that exists. Prior to all form, this hidden reality exists beneath the surface of everything you perceive. Your physical body, thoughts, emotions, and surroundings are like waves on the ocean of consciousness, distinct in appearance, but made of the same essential substance. The Enlightenment traditions weren't speaking in metaphors when they described reality as luminous emptiness or pure awareness. They were pointing to direct perception of what exists before and within all form. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how this recognition impacts your practical experience of manifestation. When you begin to sense the luminous field behind appearances, your approach to creating shifts dramatically. Instead of trying to manipulate external reality, you recognize that what you perceive as external is actually an extension of your own consciousness. The decisions you make from this understanding come from a fundamentally different place. Rather than reacting to a seemingly separate world, you participate consciously in the unfolding of reality. Your journey becomes less about getting what you want and more about aligning with the deeper currents of being that move through you. Consider how this might transform your everyday experience. When facing challenges, instead of seeing them as obstacles imposed from outside, you recognize them as aspects of consciousness arising within the same field that you are. This doesn't mean you cause them in the conventional sense, but rather that they're part of the same unified reality expressing itself through this moment. This revelation completely reframes the concept of attracting experiences. You're not pulling things toward you across a distance. You're recognizing and resonating with aspects of yourself in different form. The boundary between inner and outer dissolves in the light of this understanding, revealing that what you seek has always been seeking you because it is you. If you've ever had a moment where you suddenly saw past appearances and glimpsed the luminous energy behind all form, write in the comments, "I've seen beyond the veil." The impact of this perception shift extends beyond spiritual understanding into every aspect of how we experience reality. This perception shift reveals a profound truth about reality. The world you experience is not happening to you, it is happening as you. Everything you perceive is your inner state made visible, projected outward as the three-dimensional movie of your life. This isn't metaphorical language, but a description of how consciousness actually operates. Your circumstances, relationships, and experiences are not random occurrences, but precise reflections of the vibration you emit into the unified field of awareness. Think about it this way. Have you noticed that some people seem to encounter similar situations repeatedly throughout their lives? The person who always finds themselves in drama-filled relationships, the entrepreneur who consistently attracts untrustworthy business partners, or the individual who repeatedly faces financial struggles despite changing external factors. Behind the scenes of these recurring patterns lies a hidden mechanism of creation. Your vibrational signature continues to broadcast the same frequency, drawing experiences that match it with mathematical precision. This revelation can be both confronting and liberating. Confronting because it places responsibility for your experience squarely in your own consciousness. Liberating because once you understand the mechanism, you gain the power to transform your reality by shifting your inner state, rather than struggling to change external circumstances. The journey of transformation begins with recognition. When you observe patterns in your life, recurring relationship dynamics, financial situations, or health challenges, you're seeing the outward manifestation of an internal frequency you've been maintaining, often unconsciously. These patterns aren't punishment or bad luck, but feedback, perfect mirrors reflecting aspects of your consciousness that seek integration and evolution. What's fascinating is that quantum physics has begun to validate what ancient wisdom traditions have taught for millennia. The observer effect in quantum experiments shows that consciousness itself influences the behavior of energy and matter. The boundaries between inner and outer reality break down at the fundamental level of existence, revealing a unified field where everything is interconnected. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to consciously shift these vibrational patterns. Most approaches to manifestation focus on changing thoughts or visualizing outcomes, which can be helpful but often miss the deeper currents that generate reality. Your thoughts are merely the surface waves of consciousness. Beneath them lie emotional patterns, beliefs, and ultimately your sense of being itself. True manifestation mastery comes from aligning at the level of being, not just thinking or doing. When your essential state, your frequency of consciousness changes, reality must reorganize itself to reflect this shift. This isn't magical thinking, it's the natural consequence of understanding that the perceiver and the perceived arise from the same source. Consider the impact of this understanding on your decision-making process. Instead of asking, "What do I need to do to get what I want?" the more powerful question becomes, what state of being would naturally attract and create this experience? Rather than chasing external outcomes, you focus on embodying the qualities and energy of what you seek to manifest. This shift in mindset revolutionizes your approach to transformation. You stop trying to manipulate reality and instead become a conscious participant in its unfolding. The difference is subtle but profound, like the distinction between pushing against the current of a river versus aligning with its flow. One depletes energy, the other amplifies it. The real breakthrough happens when you recognize that changing your vibrational pattern isn't about forcing yourself to be positive or denying difficult emotions. It's about bringing conscious awareness to the unconscious frequencies you've been broadcasting and allowing them to transform through presence rather than resistance. The light of awareness itself becomes the catalyst for change. If you've noticed recurring patterns in your life that seem to follow you despite changing external circumstances, and you're ready to shift them at their vibrational source, write in the comments, "I'm ready to change my frequency." The question now becomes, how do we access and align with the subtle frequencies that create our reality, rather than just manipulating surface appearances? The key to shifting these vibrational patterns lies in a dimension of manifestation rarely discussed in mainstream teachings: the power of silence. Let me share Hazel's journey that illuminates this hidden truth. Hazel was a dedicated spiritual seeker whose pen flowed with endless verses about dreams yet to manifest. Day after day, she wrote elaborate affirmations, expressing her desires in beautiful poetry. Yet her words seemed to echo in a void. Her manuscripts filled with desires remained just that, desires on paper. The journey of awakening isn't meant to be traveled alone. Subscribe to join our conscious community, where we explore the deepest truths of manifestation, consciousness, and spiritual transformation. Your presence here strengthens our collective field. One morning, sitting in her garden surrounded by crumpled chapters of unfinished poems, an inner voice whispered to her, "Be still." Initially, she resisted, reaching again for her pen, but something made her pause. In that moment of hesitation, a profound truth began to reveal itself. The universe doesn't speak with words, but with vibrations. This revelation transforms our understanding of conscious creation. Your thoughts, when crowded with endless chatter, even positive affirmations, create static that drowns out the subtle frequencies where manifestation actually occurs. It's like trying to tune a radio while constantly talking over the music. The signal you're seeking gets lost in the noise you're creating. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies a counterintuitive principle. The true creative power doesn't reside in mental activity, but in the spaces between thoughts, when your mind is constantly filled with internal dialogue about what you want, what you lack, or even positive affirmations, you're actually creating resistance to the natural flow of abundance. The universe responds not to your words, but to your resonance, your vibrational state of being. The journey toward manifestation mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that true abundance mindset isn't about endlessly repeating affirmations or visualizations. It's about accessing the sacred silence where the creative power of the universe naturally resides. When you cease the constant narration of lack and desire, you enter the realm where true creation begins. Consider the impact this understanding has on your approach to manifestation. Instead of adding more affirmations, more visualization sessions, more techniques, the path opens through subtraction. By quieting the mind, you remove the static that blocks clear transmission. Between your consciousness and the unified field, the mindset shift here is revolutionary. Most of us have been taught that manifestation is something we do, an active process of commanding reality through focused thought. But the deeper truth reveals that manifestation is something we allow by aligning with the silence at the core of our being. In that silence, we access a bandwidth of creation that mental activity alone cannot reach. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to practically access this creative silence. This isn't about forcing your mind to be quiet, an approach that usually creates more internal noise. It's about recognizing the stillness that already exists beneath the surface of thought, like the depths of the ocean that remain calm, regardless of surface waves. This revelation transforms not just spiritual practice, but everyday decision-making. When faced with challenges or choices, our conditioned response is to think more intensely, to analyze more thoroughly. But what if the clarity you seek isn't found in more thinking, but in the space where thinking subsides? What if your most powerful decisions come not from mental processing, but from the intuitive knowing that emerges in stillness? The paradox that few spiritual teachers openly discuss is that manifestation becomes most powerful when you stop trying to manifest. When your attachment to specific outcomes loosens and you rest in the silent awareness that precedes all form, you align with the creative current that naturally flows through you. This isn't passive resignation, but active alignment with the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. Remember Floyd, who had fished the same waters for 40 years, always with prayers on his lips and anxiety in his heart about whether the day's catch would be enough. The more he worried, the more the fish seemed to elude him, until the day exhaustion silenced his mind. As he sat in his boat, too tired even to pray, something shifted. The waters quieted, reflecting his inner stillness. That day his nets filled effortlessly. If you've experienced moments where solutions or opportunities appeared not through intense effort, but in moments of surrender and inner quiet, write in the comments, "My silence is powerful." This stillness isn't just the absence of noise, it's a living presence, the foundation from which all creative energy springs. The metaphor of water serves as a perfect reflection of consciousness itself. Floyd's fishing story illuminates a universal principle that operates whether we're aware of it or not. When the waters of our mind are turbulent with worry, anxiety, and endless mental chatter, even positive affirmations, they scatter our creative energy in countless directions. But in stillness, these same waters become a perfect conductor for manifestation, a clear medium through which the universe can express itself without distortion. Consider how this applies to your own experience. Have you noticed that your most profound insights and creative breakthroughs rarely come when you're actively pursuing them? They arrive in moments of relaxation, while showering, walking in nature, or during that peaceful state between waking and sleeping. These aren't coincidences, but glimpses of how manifestation naturally occurs when the mind's agitation subsides. The journey of transformation reveals a counterintuitive truth. Your power to create doesn't come from doing more, but from being more fully present in the spaces between your doing. These spaces aren't empty voids, but fields of pure potential, the quantum vacuum from which all form emerges. Scientists studying quantum mechanics have observed that subatomic particles appear to emerge from and disappear into a field of infinite possibility. Your consciousness operates according to these same principles. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies a profound revelation. The silence you seek is not the absence of sound or thought, but the presence of pure potential, the space between thoughts where the universe can speak to you in its own language of direct knowing. This space isn't something you create through effort. It's what remains when the constant activity of thinking temporarily subsides. The mindset revolution happens when you recognize that these gaps between thoughts aren't incidental, but essential, the fertile soil from which authentic creation springs. Most people's attention is so fixated on the content of their thoughts that they never notice the spacious awareness in which thoughts appear, yet this spaciousness is your true creative medium. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to practically access and utilize this creative potential. The traditional approach to manifestation often emphasizes concentration, focused attention on a specific outcome, but the hidden wisdom reveals that diffuse awareness, a relaxed, open state of consciousness, actually activates more powerful creative forces. This shift in approach is subtle but revolutionary. Instead of grasping tightly to your desires and repeatedly affirming them, you learn to hold them lightly in an open field of possibility. You become less like a demanding petitioner and more like a receptive artist, allowing inspiration to flow through you rather than forcing it to appear on command. The impact of this perspective transforms not just manifestation practice, but decision-making in every area of life. When facing important choices, most of us intensify our thinking, creating mental turbulence that actually obscures clarity. But what if your most aligned decisions emerge not from analysis paralysis, but from the clear waters of a settled mind? This doesn't mean abandoning critical thinking or discernment. Rather, it suggests that these faculties function most effectively when they arise from a foundation of inner stillness. From this centered place, intuition and intellect work in harmony rather than opposition. You access what some traditions call direct knowing, understanding that arrives not through logical steps, but as immediate comprehension. The silence between thoughts is where your intuitive guidance system operates most clearly. It's the space where you receive the subtle impulses that guide you toward your highest expression, not through words or images, but through a felt sense of rightness or resonance. This guidance doesn't shout, it whispers, which is why it can only be heard when the internal dialogue momentarily pauses. If you've experienced moments where perfect clarity or guidance came not through effort, but in a spontaneous flash of insight when your mind was quiet, write in the comments, "I've heard the whispers of silence." This space between thoughts connects directly to another dimension of manifestation that few teachings address: the invisible compass of intuition that guides us toward experiences aligned with our true nature. This invisible compass of intuition operates as our most sophisticated guidance system, a faculty that extends far beyond the capabilities of rational thought alone. Let me share Minnie's story that beautifully illustrates this hidden mechanism. Despite her professional success as an accountant, Minnie felt an inexplicable emptiness. One unusually quiet afternoon, while the office hummed with its usual activity, she felt an unmistakable tug, a gentle pull in her consciousness urging her to leave early and walk home instead of taking her usual train. Though logic protested, something deeper propelled her forward. Following this silent prompting, she found herself on an unfamiliar street where an old bookstore caught her attention. In its window rested a single volume, its spine adorned with a symbol that seemed to pulse with meaning. A spiral intersecting with a perfect circle. The moment Minnie's eyes met this symbol, a profound knowing flooded her. Within days, she discovered this same circular spiral represented sacred geometry and healing arts, a field that had fascinated her since childhood, but that she had dismissed as impractical. This revelation illuminates a hidden truth few understand in their journey of personal transformation. The language of the universe flows not through words, but through the silent impulses of intuition. When you quiet the chattering mind, you access an intelligence far superior to rational thought. This knowing doesn't announce itself with fanfare or arrive as a dramatic flash of inspiration. It appears as a subtle feeling, a wordless certainty, a peaceful pull toward your next step. The decision to trust these subtle promptings represents a fundamental shift in how we navigate reality. Our educational systems and cultural conditioning have taught us to prioritize logical analysis and dismiss intuitive knowing as unreliable or imaginary. Yet beneath this cultural programming lies an ancient wisdom. Your intuition is the direct line of communication between your individual consciousness and the universal intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. Behind the scenes of meaningful coincidences, what Carl Jung called synchronicities, lies this intuitive faculty working quietly on your behalf. Each chance encounter, each book that accidentally falls into your hands, each person who appears at exactly the right moment to offer the missing piece of your puzzle, all form part of a larger pattern orchestrated through this inner knowing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to consciously develop this intuitive capacity. The journey begins not with learning new techniques, but with unlearning the habit of dismissing subtle feelings and impressions. Your intuition speaks constantly, but its voice is easily drowned out by the louder proclamations of logic, social conditioning, and fear. The revolutionary mindset shift occurs when you recognize that intuition isn't mystical or supernatural, but your natural state of connection with the unified field of consciousness. It's the whisper of the whole speaking through the part, the ocean communicating through the wave. This faculty becomes increasingly reliable not through effort, but through relaxation into your natural state of being. Consider how this understanding might transform your approach to important life decisions. Most of us have been taught to make pro-con lists, analyze options exhaustively, and seek external validation for our choices. While these analytical tools have their place, they function best when balanced with intuitive guidance. The most aligned decisions emerge when head and heart work in harmony, when logical assessment is informed by intuitive knowing. The impact of developing this capacity extends far beyond improved decision-making. As you learn to trust and follow your intuitive promptings, you naturally align with the flow of life. Doors open without forcing, opportunities appear without struggle, and connections form without manipulation. You're no longer swimming against the current, but moving with the river of life that has always known your destination. This intuitive faculty isn't reserved for psychics or spiritual masters. It's your birthright as a conscious being. Everyone has experienced moments when they just knew something without logical evidence, followed an impulse that led to an unexpected blessing, or felt inexplicably drawn toward a person, place, or possibility that later proved significant. These weren't random occurrences, but glimpses of your intuitive compass functioning as designed. If you've ever followed a subtle inner prompting that made no logical sense at the time, but later revealed its perfect wisdom, write in the comments, "My intuition knew before I did." The mastery of this intuitive faculty directly connects to another often misunderstood aspect of manifestation, the counterintuitive relationship between desire and fulfillment. This counterintuitive relationship between desire and fulfillment reveals one of the most profound paradoxes in the manifestation process. Let me share Betsy's story that illuminates this hidden truth. In the heart of an ancient city lived Betsy, whose relationship with abundance would transform the very fabric of her understanding. Each morning, she meticulously wrote her goals, created vision boards, and recited wealth affirmations. Yet, prosperity remained elusive, like water slipping through desperate fingers. Her life testified to effort, but with each striving action she unconsciously strengthened the very vibration that kept abundance at bay. Here, a fundamental paradox reveals itself. Her desire became a force of its own, a constant reminder of what was missing rather than what was present. The law of attraction operates with mathematical precision, like attracts like. When you vibrate at the frequency of wanting, you attract experiences of wanting. The journey of transformation takes an unexpected turn when we realize that intense desire often reinforces the experience of lack rather than fulfilling it. This isn't because desire itself is problematic, but because most desire contains an implicit acknowledgement of absence, of something missing that needs to be acquired. This subtle vibration of not having becomes the dominant frequency you broadcast to the unified field. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies a revolutionary principle that ancient wisdom traditions have always known: to have, you must first be. To receive, you must first give from a place of fullness. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you're being in each moment. This completely inverts the conventional paradigm of manifestation. Consider how this revelation might transform your approach to creating the life you desire. Instead of focusing on what you lack and striving to attain it, you shift your attention to embodying the qualities and energy of what you seek. Rather than affirming, "I will be abundant," which contains the implicit message that you currently are not, you recognize and express the abundance that already exists within and around you. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that the state of having something and the state of desperately wanting it occupy completely different vibrational frequencies. You cannot simultaneously broadcast lack and receive fulfillment, not because the universe is withholding, but because these frequencies cannot coexist in the same space-time reality. It's like trying to tune your radio to two different stations simultaneously. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to practically shift from wanting to being. The journey begins with a simple but profound question. What would it feel like if what I desire were already present? This isn't about pretending or using affirmations to convince yourself of something you don't believe. It's about accessing the actual feeling state that your desired manifestation represents. For example, people rarely want money for the money itself. They want the freedom, security, or opportunities they believe money will provide. By identifying and embodying these essence qualities directly, you bypass the frequency of wanting money and align instead with the frequency of being free or being secure. This subtle shift creates a completely different energetic signature that you broadcast to the universe. Consider Orville's story, a humble artisan who discovered this truth through an unexpected turn of events. During a time when his pockets contained barely a single silver coin, he encountered an elderly woman struggling to buy bread. Without hesitation, he offered his last bit of money, not from calculated charity, but from a spontaneous knowing that abundance is a flow, not a possession. This simple act wasn't just generosity, it was a declaration of his trust in the abundant nature of life itself. The decision to give from apparent emptiness represented a profound vibrational statement: I have enough to share. This stance directly contradicted the appearance of lack, aligning him with the frequency of abundance rather than scarcity. Within days, unexpected opportunities flowed into his life, not as reward for good behavior, but as the natural reflection of his inner state. The impact of this perspective shift cannot be overstated. When you move from a consciousness of "I need to get" to "I already embody," you fundamentally alter your relationship with manifestation. You're no longer attempting to attract something from outside yourself, but expressing what already exists within you. If you've been carrying the heavy baggage of excessive desire that seems to create more lack in your life, write in the comments, "Today I choose to be abundance." This shift from wanting to being connects directly to another powerful dimension of manifestation, the wisdom of non-resistance and flowing with life rather than struggling against it. This wisdom of non-resistance reveals itself through Millie's profound observation of nature's perfect demonstration. In the mountains where ancient wisdom whispers through valleys, lived a woman named Millie, who spent her days observing nature's rhythms. Each morning she walked along the riverbank, contemplating the eternal dance of water and stone. For years, she had struggled against life's challenges, trying to force her way through obstacles with sheer determination. One dawn, as golden light painted the water's surface, Millie noticed something extraordinary. The river never struggled with the rocks in its path. It didn't rage or resist. It simply flowed around them, continuing its journey without pause or protest. In that moment, the universe revealed its sacred teaching through nature's perfect demonstration. This revelation contains a hidden truth about the very essence of personal transformation. When you align with the universal flow, resistance naturally dissolves, just as water adapts to every contour it encounters. Your spirit possesses the innate wisdom to navigate life's challenges without struggle. The river doesn't fight the rocks. It embraces them as part of its journey, incorporating their presence into its flowing dance. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this profound principle that few teachings adequately express. The path of non-resistance isn't weakness, but strength. Consider how the mightiest forces in nature operate. Gravity doesn't struggle to pull objects toward Earth. Electricity doesn't strain to flow through a conductor. Light doesn't force its way through space. These fundamental powers function with effortless grace, yet nothing in existence is more powerful. The journey toward mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that alignment with universal flow accomplishes more than struggle ever could. This revelation contradicts our cultural programming that equates effort with value and struggle with worthiness. We've been conditioned to believe that meaningful achievements require strenuous exertion, that we must push, strive, and overcome through force of will. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding what non-resistance actually means in practice. This isn't about passive acceptance of circumstances you wish to change. It's about recognizing when you're creating unnecessary turbulence through resistance and learning to work with the current rather than against it. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that non-resistance is actually the highest form of intelligence, the same force that moves planets and orchestrates seasons. Your role in manifestation isn't to force outcomes through sheer will, but to maintain the state of flow that naturally attracts them. Like a skilled sailor who doesn't fight the wind, but adjusts the sails to harness its power, you learn to use life's currents rather than exhausting yourself battling against them. Consider how the universe itself creates without effort. Flowers don't struggle to bloom, clouds don't force themselves to rain, stars don't strain to shine. This same effortless power flows through you, waiting to be recognized and embraced. When you align with this current, creation happens through you rather than by you. The impact of this understanding transforms every aspect of your manifestation practice. Instead of approaching goals with tension and anxiety about outcomes, you move with the confident ease of someone who trusts the river to carry them. This doesn't mean you become passive. Quite the opposite. You become more effective because your actions align with the natural flow rather than opposing it. The resistance mindset is perhaps the deepest obstacle on the journey toward conscious manifestation. Each time you push against what is, you create turbulence that scatters your creative energy. When you fight reality, wishing things were different, rejecting current circumstances, or tensing against the present moment, you actually strengthen the very conditions you're trying to change. The decision to flow rather than fight represents a fundamental shift in how you relate to reality. Instead of approaching challenges with the energy of opposition, you meet them with the intelligence of water, flowing around, through, and with whatever arises. This doesn't mean accepting harmful situations or abandoning your desires. It means pursuing them with alignment rather than antagonism. Consider the quality of your experience when you're in flow versus when you're in resistance. Flow states are characterized by ease, clarity, synchronicity, and energy. Resistance states produce struggle, confusion, obstacles, and exhaustion. These contrasting experiences aren't random, but direct feedback about your alignment with universal currents. If you've noticed the dramatic difference between forcing outcomes and flowing with life's current, write in the comments, "I choose to flow, not fight." This wisdom of non-resistance connects directly to another essential aspect of manifestation, recognizing the golden thread that weaves through all your experiences, revealing a perfectly orchestrated pattern beneath apparent chaos. This wisdom of flowing, rather than fighting, reveals another profound dimension of manifestation: the golden thread that connects all your experiences into a perfectly orchestrated pattern. In a remote mountain village, where streams tumbled down ancient rocks, Lula dwelled in a small cabin overlooking the valley. Each morning she watched the mist rise from the waters, carrying whispers of wisdom that would soon transform her understanding of life's intricate design. As nature's patterns unfolded before her, Lula began to perceive a golden thread weaving each moment of her existence. The loss of her childhood home had led her to this serene valley. The friend who betrayed her trust introduced her to the spiritual path. Even her greatest heartbreak guided her toward an inner strength she never knew she possessed. This revelation shows us the behind the scenes of the divine plan. Just as the river finds its way through the landscape, the universe moves with precise intelligence. Every curve, every obstacle, every apparent detour serves the greater flow. You might perceive events as random or cruel in the moment, but viewed from higher ground, they reveal themselves as perfectly orchestrated steps in your awakening. The journey of transformation takes on new meaning when you recognize that nothing in your experience has been accidental. What appeared as disconnected events, the relationship that ended, the job you lost, the unexpected move to a new location, all form part of an intelligently designed tapestry. The thread might seem to disappear at times, diving beneath the surface of your awareness, but it never breaks. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this profound truth: the universe doesn't waste experiences. Even your greatest challenges serve the evolution of your consciousness. This doesn't mean suffering is necessary or that you should passively accept harmful situations. Rather, it means that whatever has occurred contains within it the seeds of greater awareness if you're willing to perceive them. This truth manifested powerfully in Franklin's story, a merchant who lost everything in a devastating fire. He spent years bitter about his misfortune. One day, while walking through the charred remains of his former shop, he noticed a seedling breaking through the ashes. This simple sight awakened him to a profound realization. Destruction had cleared the way for new growth. Franklin began to trace the path of his life, seeing how each failure had redirected him toward greater authenticity. The loss of the business freed him from a path that wasn't truly his own. His failed marriage taught him self-love. Even his estrangement from family had led to a deeper, spiritual quest. What initially appeared as devastating setbacks revealed themselves as essential redirections, guiding him toward his true purpose. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to practically recognize this golden thread in your own life. The mindset revolution begins with a simple but powerful question. What if everything, even the experiences you've labeled as bad or wrong, has been serving your highest evolution? This isn't about denying pain or pretending difficulties don't exist. It's about perceiving the hidden purpose within them. The journey requires a radical shift in perspective, from viewing life as a series of random events happening to you to recognizing it as an intelligently orchestrated process happening for you. This shift doesn't occur through intellectual understanding alone, but through directly observing the patterns in your own experience. When you look back at pivotal moments that initially seemed disastrous, can you trace how they led to essential growth, relationships, or opportunities that wouldn't have emerged otherwise? Consider the impact this understanding has on your relationship with the present moment, especially when facing challenges. When difficulty arises, rather than immediately resisting or asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you can approach it with genuine curiosity. What might this be preparing me for? What growth is being catalyzed here? This doesn't mean you passively accept harmful situations, but that you engage with them from a perspective of evolutionary intelligence rather than victimhood. The decision to trust the golden thread, even when you can't see where it leads, represents one of the most profound transformations in consciousness. It's a recognition that the same intelligence that orchestrates the cosmos is weaving the tapestry of your life with equal precision and purpose. This trust doesn't eliminate challenges, but transforms your relationship with them, allowing you to move through difficulties with greater grace and presence. If you've experienced situations in your life that seemed like disasters in the moment, but that you now recognize as doorways to greater growth, write in the comments, "I see the golden thread." And as we contemplate this extraordinary cosmic choreography, let's explore how our inner vision actually shapes the reality we experience. This golden thread of purpose weaves directly into another profound dimension of manifestation, the power of inner vision to literally shape the reality we experience. In a sun-bathed studio lived a painter named Daisy, who spent her days staring at blank canvases. Though her brushes stood ready and her paints remained moist, no images flowed from her hands. The more she tried to capture the world before her eyes, the more the creative spirit seemed to withdraw, leaving only emptiness where inspiration once danced. Through this void began to emerge a fundamental truth about the creative process. The world you see is not the world that creates, it's the world already created. True vision flows from within, where the seeds of tomorrow wait to bloom into form. This revelation provokes a paradigm shift in our understanding of conscious manifestation. The imagination isn't mere fantasy or escape from reality. It's the actual bridge between infinite potential and physical experience, the sacred territory where the invisible begins its journey toward visibility. When Daisy finally closed her physical eyes and opened the eyes of her heart, a profound transformation occurred. Instead of painting the flowers in her garden, she painted the joy they evoked. Rather than capturing the sunset, she expressed the peace it awakened in her soul. With each brushstroke, guided by feeling rather than sight, her art transformed. The paintings no longer spoke of things but of states of being. This discovery reveals an essential principle that few personal development teachers discuss. Consciousness creates before form appears. It's the invisible architecture behind all visible manifestation. When you imagine with feeling, you aren't dreaming. You're creating the template for tomorrow. The images and feelings you cultivate in your inner vision are not separate from reality, but are the precursors to it. Behind the scenes of creation lies this hidden mechanism. Your imagination doesn't just reflect possibilities, it generates them. What you consistently envision with emotional engagement creates energetic patterns that eventually materialize in your experience. This isn't magical thinking, but a description of how consciousness interfaces with the quantum field of potential. The journey toward manifestation mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the primary creative act isn't physical action, but inner vision. Before anything can appear in your experience, it must first exist as a pattern in your consciousness. The quality, clarity, and feeling tone of your inner vision determine the nature of what manifests. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how to practically harness the power of inner vision. The revolution begins with recognizing that imagination isn't frivolous, but fundamental to the creative process. When you engage your imagination with the understanding that you're actually working with the raw materials of future experience, the practice takes on new significance and power. Consider how this shifts your approach to visualization. Most people treat visualization as a mental rehearsal, a way to prepare for something they hope will happen. But the deeper truth reveals that visualization, when infused with feeling and belief, is the actual creation occurring at the causal level. You're not preparing for something that might happen. You're generating the energetic template from which it will emerge. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that your inner vision isn't just reflecting reality, but creating it. Everything in your experience began as someone's vision. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're using, the building around you. Someone first held these as images in consciousness before they materialized in form. Your personal reality follows the same principle, flowing from the images and feelings you consistently entertain internally. In the same city lived Leonard, a musician who had never seen color with his physical eyes. Yet when he played his violin, he experienced rich symphonies of color. Red for passion, blue for tranquility, gold for inspiration. His listeners often commented that his music painted images in their minds. Leonard understood that true seeing happens in the soul, where imagination shapes reality before it manifests. The impact of this understanding transforms not just spiritual practice, but everyday creativity. When you recognize that your inner vision literally shapes your experience, you begin to attend more carefully to the quality of images, feelings, and expectations you cultivate. You become more intentional about what you allow into your mental and emotional space, understanding that these are not just passing experiences, but creative forces. If you've noticed how your expectations and inner visions tend to manifest in your external experience, and you're beginning to sense the tremendous creative power of your imagination, write in the comments, "My inner vision creates my reality." This powerful relationship between inner vision and outer experience connects directly to another fundamental principle of manifestation, the primary role of feeling in the creative process. This powerful relationship between inner vision and outer reality leads us to perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of manifestation, the primacy of feeling in the creative process. In the depths of your being lies a truth so fundamental that its simplicity often escapes notice. Feeling creates form. This eternal principle reveals itself through Ethel's story, whose pursuit of achievement led her through an unexpected path of wisdom. Ethel believed that once her business flourished, her anxiety would dissolve. She worked tirelessly, pushing through exhaustion, convinced that external success would finally grant her inner peace. Yet with each goal achieved, tranquility remained elusive. The more she pursued accomplishment, the more tension gripped her spirit. One morning, while reviewing financial projections in her office, a ray of sunlight caught her attention. She observed dust motes dancing in the golden beam, their movement effortless and perfect. In that moment, understanding dawned as a profound revelation. The universe operates through ease, not tension. This perspective marked the beginning of her personal transformation. Instead of forcing outcomes, she began each day by first cultivating the feeling of fulfillment. She allowed peace to precede profit, joy to antecede achievement. To her amazement, as her inner state changed, external circumstances began to reflect her newfound serenity. Opportunities emerged naturally, clients appeared unexpectedly, and solutions arose effortlessly. This story illuminates the silent inversion that few understand. The outer world organizes itself according to your inner atmosphere. Success doesn't create happiness. Happiness creates success. Abundance doesn't bring peace. Peace brings abundance. This is the great inversion that unlocks the deepest mystery of manifestation. The energy you emit becomes the reality you inhabit. When you alter your emotional frequency first, the physical plane must reconfigure itself to match your new vibration. This isn't wishful thinking, but cosmic law, as precise as mathematics and as reliable as gravity. The journey toward mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that changing circumstances begins not with manipulating external conditions, but with shifting internal states. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this hidden mechanism. Your emotional state isn't just a reaction to reality, but a precursor to it. Emotions are energetic frequencies that interact directly with the quantum field, organizing particles of possibility into patterns that reflect their vibration. When you maintain a consistent emotional tone, you broadcast a specific frequency that draws corresponding experiences into your reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward the extraordinary power that resides in ordinary moments. In the heart of this profound understanding about feeling creating form lies another revolutionary revelation about where transformation actually occurs, not in dramatic spiritual experiences, but in the humble moments of everyday life. In a small seaside village lived Clara, whose quest for enlightenment had led her across distant lands and sacred sites. Clara spent years seeking extraordinary signs of divine presence. She traveled to sacred mountains, meditated in ancient caves, and sought blessings from renowned mystics. Yet transformation remained elusive, seemingly always one pilgrimage away. One evening, returning home exhausted and disheartened, Clara found herself at her kitchen sink. As warm water flowed over her hands and steam rose from the dishes, something shifted. The simple act of washing became a dance of light on soap bubbles. The quiet clinking of dishes contained the same sanctity as temple bells. A child's laughter filtering through her window carried the same blessing as any sacred chant. In that ordinary moment, the extraordinary revealed itself. The divine presence she had pursued across continents had been waiting in these humble acts all along. Each breath, each movement, each sound contained the totality of existence when witnessed with full attention. This revelation contains a fundamental hidden truth that transforms our approach to spiritual practice. The miraculous doesn't announce itself with thunder. It whispers through the rhythm of daily life. The universe expresses its infinite nature, not only in grand gestures, but in the perfect simplicity of each passing moment. The decision to recognize the sacred in the ordinary represents a complete paradigm shift in how we approach transformation. Instead of seeking special experiences or waiting for dramatic moments of awakening, you begin to recognize that the divine flows through every aspect of your existence. Washing dishes, preparing food, conversing with strangers, tending to simple tasks. If you've been striving hard for success, but sensing that perhaps your approach has been inverted, trying to do in order to feel, rather than allowing feeling to guide your doing, write in the comments. First the feeling, then the form. And as we contemplate this profound inversion of the creative process, let's discover the extraordinary power that resides in our willingness to trust life's unfolding. This sacredness of ordinary moments connects directly to another revolutionary dimension of manifestation, the transformative power of trust. In the heart of a bustling city, Nora sat at her elegant desk, gazing out her corner office window. For 15 years, she had built a fortress of security, pension, benefits, golden handcuffs that glittered with false promise. Yet beneath this carefully constructed shelter, a quiet voice grew stronger each day, whispering of a greater purpose waiting beyond these walls. The universe speaks in the language of gentle urgency, calling to those ready to cross the bridge between safety and destiny. Nora felt this call in her bones, though her mind crafted elaborate defenses against it, until one morning when the walls of her office seemed to dissolve, revealing the vast expanse of possibility that had always existed beyond them. This revelation shows us the behind-the-scenes of decision-making from a spiritual perspective. Trust isn't a thought, but a frequency, a vibration that aligns you with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. When you tune to this frequency, what seems like a leap becomes an elegant step. The journey of transformation requires crossing thresholds where the mind can't see the entire path, only the heart knows the way. Consider Edgar, who journeyed across the continent with nothing but an inner compass guiding him. Where logic predicted difficulties, synchronicity provided shelter. When his car broke down in a small town, a mechanic offered not only repairs, but connection to opportunities that would shape his journey. Each step revealed the next, though none could be seen from the starting point. The universe operates through this hidden order, an invisible architecture of support that becomes visible only to those who trust enough to step forward. Every master has known this truth. Security doesn't reside in external structures, but in alignment with this deeper intelligence. What the mind perceives as risk, the soul recognizes as the natural path. This revolutionary mindset has the power to completely transform our relationship with uncertainty and important life decisions. The bridge between where you stand and where your heart calls you to be isn't built through planning alone, but through the willingness to trust the intelligence that orchestrates the cosmos. Each step of trust creates the next section of the bridge beneath your feet. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding the magnetic power of the heart that transcends any mental technique. In a small coastal town, Laia tended her flower shop, arranging flowers with mechanical precision while her thoughts dwelled on loneliness. Though she intellectually understood the law of attraction, something remained missing. One morning, while placing roses in the window, an elderly woman stopped outside with tears streaming down her face. Without thinking, Laia rushed out, offering not just flowers, but genuine compassion. In that moment of pure love, something shifted in the energetic structure of her reality. Within days, her shop transformed into a gathering place of hearts. People came not just for flowers, but for the warmth that now permeated the space. This story reveals a hidden truth older than time itself. Emotion creates reality faster than any thought. This is one of the most profound revelations behind the scenes of the manifestation process. The heart generates a magnetic field, 5,000 times stronger than the brain. When you align your emotional frequency with what you seek, manifestation becomes instantaneous. The journey toward mastery takes an extraordinary turn when we realize that it's not your thoughts to which the universe responds, but the vibrational signature of your feelings. This explains why those who love deeply often manifest effortlessly. They bypass the complexities of the mind and transmit pure feeling to the quantum field. Behind the scenes of creation lies this remarkable mechanism. Your emotions are the language the universe understands most clearly. When heart and desire synchronize, creation follows with a grace that thoughts alone cannot invoke. While the mind deals in concepts and possibilities, the heart deals in energetic frequencies that directly interface with the field of manifestation. Consider Vernon, a businessman known for his skepticism, who discovered this truth unexpectedly. After decades of strategic networking, he began a simple practice of genuine appreciation for each person he met. He stopped seeing people as means to ends and began recognizing the divine spark within each soul. This transformation wasn't a technique, but a fundamental shift in his emotional frequency. This occurs because gratitude is consciousness recognizing itself. When you deeply appreciate, you activate a resonance with the very source of creation. The universe, seeing itself through your eyes of appreciation, responds by multiplying what you value. This isn't a metaphorical concept, but quantum physics, like attracts like at the subtlest levels of reality. If you've experienced how genuine, heartfelt emotion manifests reality more powerfully and quickly than intellectual affirmations or visualizations, write in the comments, "My heart is my strongest manifesting power." And as we explore this extraordinary magnetic power of the heart, let's discover a frequency of transformation that few truly understand: forgiveness. This magnetic power of the heart connects directly to a frequency of transformation that few truly understand: forgiveness. In the shadow of an old wound lived Agnes, carrying the weight of betrayal like heavy stones in her heart. Each morning she would wake to find her joints stiffer, her breathing more shallow, her vitality diminishing despite all attempts at healing. The doctors found no physical cause, yet her body seemed to reflect the hardness that had taken root in her spirit. For years she had rehearsed the story of how her business partner had deceived her, costing her not just money, but years of dreams. Bitterness became a companion, justifying her isolation and distrust. This story shows the devastating impact that resentment has not only on our energetic vibration, but on our physical well-being. The frequency of judgment and bitterness creates a distorted magnetic field around us, blocking the natural flow of abundance, health, and connection. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies a profound truth. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The vibrational cost is entirely yours. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, works through unexpected channels. One day, while organizing old papers, Agnes discovered a forgotten photograph. Her ex-partner, young and hopeful on their first day of business. In that instant, something shifted. She saw not the person who had harmed her, but another soul on its own imperfect journey. Tears came, not of anger, but of release. As Agnes allowed compassion to soften her heart, remarkable changes began to unfold. Her body responded as if freed from invisible chains. Energy returned, pain diminished, and opportunities emerged as if by magic. This story reveals a profound truth about the hidden mechanisms of manifestation. Forgiveness operates as a frequency cleansing in the quantum field. When you release judgment, you alter your energetic signature, allowing new possibilities to emerge. The person you forgive may never know of your inner transformation, yet the universe responds to your changed state with precise synchronicity. The ancient sages knew this secret. Forgiveness was never about condoning actions or reconciling relationships. It has always been the supreme act of self-liberation. By releasing others from your judgment, you free yourself from the dense energetic ties that limit your own expansion. The journey toward manifestation mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the act of forgiveness might be the most powerful frequency-shifting practice available. This isn't about spiritual bypassing or pretending harm didn't occur. It's about recognizing that carrying resentment creates a vibrational prison that limits what can enter your experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how the architect of your subconscious mind is constantly shaping the invisible fabric of your reality. In the heart of an ancient city, Pearl walked through her days burdened by constant worry about the survival of her small art gallery. Each morning brought new anxieties about rent, exhibitions, and dwindling attendance, until one dawn, standing before an empty wall, she made a decision that would alter the invisible blueprint of her existence. She chose joy. Instead of focusing on what might go wrong, Pearl began to imagine her gallery filled with light and appreciation. Within days, a remarkable series of coincidences unfolded. A renowned artist, lost on his way to another destination, wandered into her space. A leak in the building above led to the discovery of a forgotten skylight that, once restored, transformed the gallery's atmosphere. Each synchronicity seemed guided by invisible hands, orchestrating a symphony of perfect timing. The law reveals itself through such moments of alignment. When you shift your inner frequency from worry to joy, you activate the subconscious architect within you. This deeper mind operates beyond time, weaving manifestation patterns through the fabric of reality. This revelation shows the hidden mechanisms behind conscious creation. Your conscious thoughts may plant seeds, but it's your subconscious that builds the garden. The subconscious is the true architect, working silently behind the scenes, converting your emotional states into structures of tangible experience. Consider Calvin, the forgotten artist whose sketchbooks gathered dust in an attic for decades. Metu. His youth, he had drawn innumerable beautiful spaces, buildings that seemed impossible in his time. 40 years later, his granddaughter discovered these sketches, astonished to find they perfectly matched the innovative designs now transforming cities around the world. Calvin's subconscious had reached across time, sketching the blueprints of future blessings. The decisions you make about your emotional state have a profound impact on the invisible architecture of your destiny. Your conscious mind chooses the emotional tone, joy or worry, confidence or fear. But it's your subconscious that translates these frequencies into the structural patterns of experience. Each coincidence, each synchronicity, each chance meeting follows the invisible lines drawn by your deeper mind. If you've noticed how shifting your emotional state seems to reorganize external circumstances in ways that logical effort alone never could, write in the comments, "I'm activating my subconscious architect." And as we explore this remarkable relationship between our emotional states and subconscious creation, let's discover an aspect rarely discussed in the manifestation process: the power in the pause between thoughts. This subconscious architecture of creation connects directly to a rarely discussed aspect of the manifestation process: the power that exists in the space between thoughts. In the heart of an ancient city, a woman named Francine tended her garden each morning, rushing from task to task, until her hands trembled with exhaustion. Like many, she believed constant movement equated to progress, until one morning when a butterfly landed on her pruning shears, causing her to freeze mid-motion. In that suspended moment between action and reaction, Francine experienced something extraordinary, a sacred void that paradoxically felt full. Time seemed to stop, and in that pause, she felt an invisible architecture taking form, as if the universe itself was breathing through her stillness. This moment awakens an ancient truth that has remained like a hidden jewel in the deepest spiritual traditions. Creation doesn't emerge from endless doing, but from the fertile pause between actions. Just as music finds its power in the spaces between notes, life orchestrates its miracles in the gaps between thoughts. These intervals aren't sterile voids, but quantum fields where all possibility gathers its strength. When you learn to rest in these spaces, you align with the natural rhythm of the universe. The journey of transformation takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the true creative power resides not in constant action, but in the conscious pauses where the mind rests and the deeper self emerges. This revelation contradicts the modern mindset of constant productivity and accelerated transformation. It shows us that the true creative power resides not in ceaseless action, but in the moments of conscious pause where the mind rests and the deeper self emerges. Each manifestation arises spontaneously within you, not the limited you of personality, but the vast you of consciousness itself. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this counterintuitive principle. The most powerful creations emerge not from the noise of constant doing, but from the silence between actions. Consider Wallace, a merchant whose racing thoughts had woven a web of anxiety around his heart. His transformation began when he discovered the power of conscious breathing, not in the breath itself, but in the subtle space between exhaling and inhaling. In those moments of pure potential, he found his nervous system settling into profound peace. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how the vibrational quality of our words and sounds literally shapes the fabric of our reality. In a bustling marketplace, Nettie found herself amid a chorus of voices. The merchants complained about slow business, customers grumbled about prices, and her fellow traders shared stories of misfortune. Each morning she would open her small fabric shop to the same symphony of discontent until one day a strange phenomenon caught her attention. The colors of her precious silks seemed duller, their vibration diminished by the very air that carried these heavy words. Through Nettie's awakening emerges a profound truth. The universe operates by resonance. Every voice, every thought, every murmur creates waves in the field of infinite possibilities. This revelation shows us a revolutionary aspect of conscious creation. Your environment isn't simply a backdrop, it's a living orchestra playing the melody of your manifestations. When you inhabit spaces filled with lower vibrations, criticism, blame, lack, these frequencies weave themselves into the fabric of your experience like a tuning fork responding to nearby sound. Your own energetic field begins to hum with these familiar notes. This isn't punishment or reward, but the natural law of sympathetic vibration. Yet within this truth lies extraordinary power for transformation. Just as a single pure note can transform a discordant symphony, your conscious choice of vibration can elevate entire environments. Nettie discovered this power when she began responding to complaints with gentle appreciation. "How fortunate we are to have shops," she would say, or "these challenges bring opportunities for growth." At first, others looked at her strangely, but slowly, imperceptibly, the song of the marketplace began to change. The hidden truth behind this story reveals the impact our words have beyond their surface meaning. Through your voice, you either strengthen or transmute the vibrations around you. Each word is a seed planted in the field of collective consciousness. Choose to speak light and watch how reality reorganizes to match your song. If you've noticed how the quality of conversation and energy in your environment seems to directly impact your own state and even your external circumstances, write in the comments, "I am conscious of my vibrational environment." This understanding of vibration and resonance leads us to another aspect of the manifestation process that few truly comprehend, the sacred art of receptivity. This understanding of vibration and resonance leads us directly to a dimension of the manifestation process that few truly comprehend, the sacred art of receptivity. In a small chapel bathed in morning light, Fa knelt in her usual place. Her whispered prayers resonated. Against stone walls, prayers for abundance, for healing, for guidance. Day after day, she poured out her heart. Yet something felt incomplete. The words flowed outward, like water on sand, leaving no feeling of fulfillment. Through her story, we discover a revolutionary truth about the mechanics of manifestation. The universe speaks in the language of feeling, not just words. Your prayers, affirmations, and intentions are merely half the circle of creation. The completing force lies in receptivity, the divine feminine principle that draws manifestation into form. Like the earth receiving rain, like the moon reflecting light, like the flower opening to the sun, your role in creation requires both expression and acceptance. The journey toward manifestation mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the power doesn't reside in asking ceaselessly, but in the sacred art of allowing the response. When you speak to the universe without pausing to receive, you create an incomplete circuit. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this hidden key. The knowledge comes in stillness, in the spaces between words, in moments of pure receptivity. This is why the masters of old taught, "Be still and know." The transformation of consciousness happens when you recognize that manifestation isn't just about broadcasting your desires, but about becoming a clear channel to receive the response. In the quiet valley beyond the chapel, Harold discovered this truth through an unexpected path. Each morning he visualized the desires of his heart with crystal clarity, but unlike before, he began to sit in silence afterward, allowing the images to settle into his being. He noticed that when he stopped striving to make things happen, life began to move toward him. Opportunities appeared like birds alighting on still branches. Doors opened without pushing. Solutions emerged from silence like stars becoming visible in darkness. This revelation contradicts our culture's emphasis on constant action and striving. Your task isn't to reach endlessly outward, but to become an open vessel. The abundance of the universe flows naturally into spaces of acceptance. When you pray, affirm, or set an intention, let your words be seeds planted in fertile soil. Then rest in the knowing that what you've planted is already growing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how sound itself, the pure vibration of your voice, can literally reorganize the molecules of your reality. In a modest cabin at the edge of the village, Myrtle moved through her morning routine, softly humming as she swept the wooden floors. Without conscious thought, melodies flowed from her lips, sometimes joyful, sometimes melancholic, but always true to her inner state. As the weeks passed, she began to notice something extraordinary. When her humming carried notes of satisfaction, the sunlight seemed to dance more brightly through her windows. When her tones rose with hope, unexpected gifts appeared at her doorstep. Through her experience, we discover a hidden truth about the vibrational nature of the universe. Every particle of creation oscillates at specific frequencies, creating a cosmic symphony of energy. Your voice, whether expressed through speech, singing, or the softest humming, sends ripples through this infinite field. These sound waves don't just travel through air, they reshape the very fabric of reality. When you align your vocal expression with your deepest truth, you activate a power known to ancient mystics. They understood that sound doesn't simply reflect reality, it creates it. Each syllable you pronounce carries creative force. Each note you hum transmits your frequency to the universal mind. This sacred science of sound has been preserved in traditions like mantra chanting, where certain sound combinations were considered literally capable of manifesting specific realities. In a city far from Myrtle's cabin, Din struggled with sleepless nights until he discovered an ancestral practice. Each night he would sit at the edge of his bed and softly chant, "I am peace, I am rest." The vibration of these words carried on his breath gradually transformed his nervous system. What began as mere words evolved into lived experience, his body responding to the frequency of tranquility he vocalized. The decision to become conscious of the vibrational quality of your voice, the tones, rhythms, and emotional frequencies you express, represents a powerful step in mastering the art of manifestation. The sounds you generate aren't just expressions of your current state, but creative forces shaping your future experience. If you've begun to notice how the quality of your voice, your words, or even the music you choose to surround yourself with seems to directly impact the energy and circumstances of your life, write in the comments, "My voice creates my reality." And as we explore this profound connection between sound and creation, let's discover how the very challenges and contrasts in our lives serve as the most powerful catalysts for transformation. This profound connection between sound and creation leads us directly to another alchemical aspect of manifestation, the transformative power of contrast. In a small apartment overlooking the city, Rita sat among unopened bills and unanswered letters, her heart heavy with the weight of mounting challenges. Each morning brought new worries, a dwindling bank account, strained relationships, and dreams that seemed to drift further away. Yet within this darkness, an ancient wisdom waited to unfold. The universe operates through the principle of polarity. Each experience of lack points precisely toward abundance. Each moment of confusion contains within itself the seed of clarity. Through Rita's journey, we discover that contrast serves as the great illuminator, not a punishment, but a precise compass pointing toward growth. This revelation fundamentally transforms our perspective on challenges. What once appeared as external obstacles to be conquered now reveal themselves as aspects of ourselves inviting greater expansion. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this hidden truth. Contrast isn't your enemy, but your teacher. It doesn't exist to defeat you, but to define you more clearly. When Rita's landlord raised the rent beyond her means, the discomfort awakened a dormant entrepreneurial spirit. The very pressure that threatened to break her instead reformed her into someone stronger, wiser, and more resourceful. She began to see that her challenges weren't punishment, but preparation, each one clarifying exactly what she desired to create instead. This is the alchemy of personal transformation. The lead of our difficulties contains the gold of our evolution. The journey toward manifestation mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the contrast we experience, the gap between where we are and where we want to be, serves as the catalytic force for creation itself. Without contrast, there would be no evolution, no growth, no creative impulse. Consider Otis, whose beloved left him without explanation. In the depths of heartbreak, he discovered that pain could be transformed into creative power. His grief became the raw material for paintings that touch thousands of souls. What began as personal anguish evolved into universal art, now hanging in galleries across continents. The very darkness that seemed to swallow him became the backdrop against which his light shone most brilliantly. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding how our individual transformations can amplify when we bring consciousness together in unity. Gentle snowfall descended outside the community center where Edna had arranged chairs in a perfect circle. For months, she had felt the calling to gather people without knowing why, only sensing an invisible thread weaving hearts into wholeness. That evening, as 12 strangers settled into their seats, the air thickened with possibility. As they closed their eyes and breathed as one, something extraordinary unfolded. The energy of the room shifted, becoming more luminous, more alive. One participant's chronic pain dissolved. Another received clarity about a long-standing problem. A third felt waves of peace washing away years of anxiety. Edna watched in amazement as individual intentions amplified in a field of pure potential. This story reveals a hidden truth about the quantum mechanics of manifestation. When one person holds a vision, it carries certain force. But when consciousnesses align, the power multiplies exponentially. Like drops of water joining to form an ocean, their combined awareness created currents strong enough to change reality itself. Through these weekly gatherings emerged a profound truth about collective impact. Consciousness knows no boundaries. Each person's illumination contributed to the awakening of all. When one heart opened to abundance, all hearts in the circle felt the expansion. When one mind glimpsed truth, all minds became clearer. This principle found beautiful expression through Claude, a quiet man who had carried grief like a shadow. One evening he arrived at the circle particularly heavy-hearted, while others entered states of deep peace. He simply observed without making any effort to change his state. Yet by the end of the session, his burden had lightened. Simply witnessing the tranquility of others had transformed his energy field. The true revolution in our mindset about manifestation comes when we understand that we're not separate transmitters of energy, but nodes in an infinite network of light. When you elevate your frequency, you elevate the whole. When you remember your divine nature, you help others remember theirs. This is the alchemy of unified consciousness. The power to transform not just individual lives, but the collective field of human experience. If you've experienced the powerful amplification that occurs when you join your consciousness with others in meditation, prayer, or focused intention, write in the comments. We are stronger together. And as we explore this extraordinary power of collective consciousness, let's discover the highest frequency of all, the state of awe that instantly aligns us with the creative force of the universe. This extraordinary power of collective consciousness leads us to discover perhaps the highest vibrational frequency available to us, the transformative state of awe. In the depths of a sleepless night, Irene stepped onto her balcony, troubled by questions that seemed to have no answers. As she looked upward, the vast expanse of stars took her breath away. In that moment, her worries dissolved into pure wonder, and something shifted in her being. The universe was no longer a distant phenomenon, but an intimate presence breathing with her, through her. What unfolded in that starlit moment reveals an eternal truth that few spiritual teachers discuss openly, or is the highest frequency of consciousness. When you stand in wonder before the mysteries of life, you instantly align with the creative force that gives birth to galaxies. This isn't mere poetic sentiment, it's the physics of transformation. Awe dissolves the illusory boundary between observer and observed. In its presence, the constant chatter of the mind falls silent, and you enter a state of pure receptivity. This receptivity is the fertile soil from which all manifestation grows. Behind the scenes of manifestation lies this remarkable mechanism. When you approach life with awe, you transmit a frequency that naturally attracts synchronicity, inspiration, and grace. It's a conscious decision to see the world again with the eyes of a child, where each moment contains infinite possibilities. The journey toward mastery takes an unexpected turn when we realize that the most sophisticated manifestation. Technology isn't a complex technique, but the simple capacity for wonder. Consider Ross, whose groundbreaking research had hit an impenetrable wall. Night after night he reviewed data, growing more frustrated as solutions eluded him. One afternoon, exhausted, he stepped out of his laboratory. The sight of Orion's belt striding across the winter sky stopped him in his tracks. As wonder filled his heart, the rigid patterns of his thinking dissolved. In that expanded state, the answer he had been seeking appeared with clarity, effortlessly, not through analysis, but through alignment with the intelligence that orchestrates the cosmic dance. This revelation shows that our capacity for awe is a direct channel to universal wisdom. Awe isn't childlike naivety, it's sophisticated spiritual technology. The state of awe instantly elevates your vibration beyond limitation, beyond doubt, beyond the artificial restrictions of conventional thinking. In awe, you remember your true nature as an expression of infinite intelligence. Your decisions, insights, and creations flow from this expanded state of consciousness rather than from the limited perspective of the separate self. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward understanding the extraordinary power of stillness in the midst of chaos. A storm lashed the valley, but inside her small cabin, Lagi remained untouched by the tempest. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, yet she sat motionless, her inner light unwavering. For years, she had struggled against life's turbulence by trying to control every outcome, but on this night, she discovered a profound truth about the nature of authentic power. True power doesn't reside in resistance, but in remaining still at your center. The universe speaks through every challenge, revealing that your natural state is peace. When you cease struggling against what is, you access an ancestral power that transcends circumstances. Like the eye of a hurricane, perfect stillness exists at the heart of all movement. This stillness isn't passive. It's the very force that holds galaxies in their dance. It's the essence of stability in a universe of constant change. We can observe that those who accomplish the most move with remarkable serenity. Their secret isn't in pushing against life, but in maintaining their inner equilibrium regardless of external conditions. This state of being, this unshakable steadiness, becomes a magnetic force that naturally orders chaos around it. The transformation in mindset revolutionizes your approach to challenges. Instead of meeting turbulence with tension, you respond with centered awareness. The inner transformation always precedes the outer transformation, like the calm at the center of the storm that eventually pacifies the winds around it. In the bustling marketplace of a distant city, Eli worked as a merchant. While others shouted and rushed, he maintained an unwavering calm. Those who entered his shop felt their anxieties dissolve, though they couldn't explain why. Without speaking a word about peace, he taught it through his presence. Customers began to linger longer, not for his merchandise, but for the tranquility that surrounded him. What Eli embodied wasn't detachment, but the highest form of engagement, one that flows from your deepest nature. When you find this place of perfect equilibrium within yourself, you become like an immovable mountain before the winds of circumstances. Your peace becomes a refuge for others. Though you make no effort to change them, they transform in your presence. If you've experienced that remarkable sense of inner stillness that remains unwavering even in the midst of external chaos, write in the comments, "I am the eye of the storm." And as we explore this profound stillness at the center of all movement, let's discover an aspect of personal transformation that few have the courage to face, the gift hidden within our shadows. This profound stillness at our center leads us to an aspect of transformation that few have the courage to face, the extraordinary gift hidden within our shadows. In a dimly lit room, Opal sat before her mirror, averting her gaze from her reflection. For years, she had fled from aspects of herself she deemed unworthy, her anger, her fear, her moments of selfishness. Yet every attempt to banish these qualities only strengthened their hold on her spirit. Through her story, we discover a universal truth that fundamentally changes our relationship with the negative aspects of ourselves. What you resist persists. This revelation shows us the behind the scenes of the inner journey. Those parts of you that you judge most harshly carry within them seeds of transformation. Your shadows aren't your enemies, but guardians holding fragments of your power, waiting to be reclaimed through acceptance. When you war against any aspect of yourself, you fracture your own energetic field. The very force you use to push away unwanted traits becomes the chain that binds them to you. The journey toward wholeness takes an unexpected turn when we realize that true liberation comes not through rejection, but through the brave act of embracing all that you are. This is a pivotal decision that few are willing to make, the decision to integrate rather than reject. Amos discovered this wisdom while watching a colleague artist receive the recognition he desperately craved. The jealousy that arose felt toxic, shameful. Yet instead of suppressing this emotion, he chose to sit with it, to listen to its message. In that acceptance, jealousy revealed itself as passionate aspiration in disguise. The very energy that had tormented him transformed into fuel for his own creative expression, leading him to produce his finest work. This alchemical transformation represents a radical shift in mindset. Your perceived flaws aren't mistakes to be corrected, but messengers bearing gifts of wisdom. Each shadow trait serves a purpose, perhaps protecting you when vulnerable or helping you survive challenging times. When you honor these aspects instead of condemning them, they naturally evolve toward their higher expressions. Behind the scenes of personal transformation lies this profound truth. The darkness you fear contains the very light you seek. Your anger points to boundaries that need honoring. Your fear highlights values deserving protection. Your pain testifies to your capacity for love. The decision to embrace rather than battle your shadows doesn't just change your relationship with yourself, it fundamentally alters the vibrational signature you broadcast to the universe. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic toward the ultimate revelation that awaits at the culmination of our spiritual journey. In a quiet garden where shadows danced with light, Gabriel had spent decades practicing meditation, studying spiritual teachings, and seeking that elusive state of enlightenment that seemed always around the next corner. One afternoon, sitting in silent contemplation, a revelation struck him like a sunbeam through clouds. It wasn't that he had found something new, it was that he finally saw what had always been present. The consciousness he was seeking was the same consciousness through which he was seeking. The seeker himself was what was sought. This revelation represents the distilled essence of all authentic spiritual wisdom. The search is complete, not because you found something, but because you've recognized the seeker as what was sought. You have always been home, even while dreaming you were lost. This recognition instantly dissolves the fundamental illusion of separation that has been the root of all suffering. The revolutionary nature of this understanding cannot be overstated. It completely transforms our relationship with life itself. You are no longer seeking fullness in some distant place or future moment. Fullness is your essential nature, the very ground of your being. For Carolina, a high-level executive who had dedicated her life to the pursuit of external achievements, this awakening occurred during a period of forced stillness. Illness confined her to home for weeks, removing her from her frantic schedule of meetings and goals. In that space of involuntary quietude, she began to experience a presence she had never noticed before, a peace that didn't depend on external circumstances, a fullness that required no achievements. Gradually, she realized that what she had always been seeking through external recognition and success was already present as the very essence of her being. The achievements hadn't been the destination, but excuses to momentarily experience what had always been her true nature. The vehicle had been confused with the destination. If you're experiencing those moments of clarity where all techniques, practices, and efforts dissolve into the simple recognition of what has always been, write in the comments, "I never left home." And as we assimilate these profound truths we've explored together, Let's discover how this final recognition transforms our understanding of the manifestation process itself. What we've explored together isn't merely intellectual understanding, but an invitation to a profound remembering of your true nature. This journey of recognition continues to unfold in your life long after these words fade, each moment offering another opportunity to glimpse the truth of who you really are. I feel a deep sense of gratitude for having shared this sacred space with you today. The fact that you've journeyed with me to this point suggests that something within you resonates with these truths. There's a recognition happening, not of something new, but of something eternally present that perhaps had been temporarily forgotten. If these revelations have awakened something within you, a quiet knowing that transcends intellectual understanding, I'd love to hear about your experience. Write, "I remember who I am," in the comments below as a testament to that recognition. This community we're building together of awakened beings, supporting each other's journey, grows stronger with each new voice. If you found value in today's exploration, consider subscribing to join us as we continue uncovering these timeless truths together. Your presence here matters. Each consciousness that awakens lifts the collective field for all of us. If this conversation has touched something deep within you, letting me know with a simple like creates a ripple of encouragement that helps these messages reach others who might be ready for them too. I've prepared a companion video that explores how to integrate these profound understandings into everyday life, how to live as the infinite in finite form. It's waiting for you right here. The journey continues, not as a path towards something distant, but as an ever-deepening recognition of what has always been here, hiding in plain sight. Your own radiant awareness, recognizing itself through the unique expression that is you.